It's kind of a crazy thing, but I immediately noticed this upon watching episode 7 yesterday, and the scene where Cassian Andor has a flashback and we see on Ferrix the first time the Empire made its semi-occupation basically. The clones were marching, but at the time when they turned to execute Cassian's friend, the clone troopers are not actually the same height. Logically, of course, the clones should be the same height because they are clones, extracted from the DNA of Jango Fett, and as we see, not only the clones, but Boba is the same appearance and the same height as his father Jango Fett. I noticed this detail immediately and it was kind of weird, especially these two guys in the middle. Their height differential is substantial to the point where I had to make this video and kind of figure it out as I make this video as to why these guys, who supposedly are clones from the same DNA, are not the same height, whereas in the Clone Wars series, in the Bad Batch, and even in live action, clones have for the most part been the same height and build except for facial features, haircuts, and so forth. As with many things in Star Wars, I've done so many of these videos, but with many things in Star Wars there are two explanations. One is in-universe and one is out-of-universe explanation. So we're gonna start with the obvious, and that is the out-of-universe explanation. Here's the beautiful thing about the Andor series is that not a lot of sound stages were used during the filming. What you see are real dirty sets, especially Ferrix. For Ferrix, they supposedly built an entire city just so that they could record in it, and you can see it, you can feel it in the show that Ferrix is a lively town, which gives much more originality to the fake 3D CGI type of environment. Back when even Andor wasn't out yet, the trailer showcased these scenes. Most fans were kind of weirded out. Why are clones so late into the Imperial stage? However, in episode 7 we realized that it is actually Cassian Andor having a flashback to the beginning stages of the Imperial takeover. Just after Order 66, this scene might actually take place during the timeline of the Bad Batch. Why I'm saying this is that this error in height could be because Tony Gilroy and the crew did not pay much attention to the extras they hired to be the clone troopers. If the shape of the ground was different, that could be another explanation, but as we see, the ground right here, even though it's mud, it's well balanced. Both of them are actually standing at the same spot horizontally. So height-wise, the ground is out of the question. The out-of-universe explanation might just be that the extras hired to play these clone troopers, one was actually taller than the other. They just got mixed up. No harm, no foul. It's just something that they did not notice in production, or simply did not care. I mean, honestly, it's a small difference compared to the bigger story of the Andor series, but this is YouTube and we have to nitpick and see what kind of explanation we can extract out of this. And if this is the actual out-of-universe explanation, it's a very acceptable one. What is the in-universe explanation? Well, the in-universe explanation might be actually much more interesting, and it might kind of retcon some of the canon that we have seen in the Bad Batch. You see, as discussed previously, this might be during the timeline of the Bad Batch series. So in the Bad Batch, naturally, we see how the Empire, more specifically how Palpatine, slowly phased out the clone troopers and the clones for human recruits enlisted in the Imperial Army, and that led to the formation of the Stormtroopers. We in fact in the Bad Batch saw a transitional armor, no less, an armor that was not fully clone trooper but was not fully stormtrooper either. It was somewhere in the middle. So we have an idea of how the transition went. They first started with these transitional armors, then fully got phased out and the humans started wearing stormtrooper armor, the stormtroopers that we see today, even in yesterday's episode 7. So what might be the explanation of why these supposed clones are different in height? Well, I think that these guys are clone troopers, but not clones. You see, it's very logical to think that way out in these nothing planets in no man's land like Ferrix, the Empire just didn't have time or resources to supply the human recruits with not yet made stormtrooper armor, set aside the transitional armor. So for the time being, it is very acceptable that the Empire let the humans use clone trooper armor, just for the time being, until the stormtrooper armor production is full in effect, and in a couple of years every human recruit that has enlisted in the Imperial Army will be wearing stormtrooper armor. For now, just be content with the clone trooper armor. So what I think is that these guys, while appearing to be stormtroopers on Ferrix, they are actually humans inside, varying in height, face, and everything else. It is very plausible that by this point, the clones of Jango Fett have been completely phased out and might just be living out their days somewhere non-important in an Imperial post. That's why I think yesterday's episode showed these two clones and many other clones have different height ratio as opposed to the clones who have the same one. And if this is an in-universe explanation, which nobody has yet to come out and say anything about it specifically, this is again just my speculation, but if this is indeed the case, if the humans did use clone trooper armor in the beginning of the Imperial phase, then this would kind of change and make things much more interesting and much more exciting than we originally anticipated. I mean, the Bad Batch alone showed how messy the phasing out of Kamino and the clones was, now with Tarkin getting involved as well. This tidbit, if it is indeed true, if humans did wear clone trooper armor, this would mean a whole new idea and a whole new way of looking at how the Empire treated clone troopers. Not only did they phase them out and delete them out of existence, kinda, but they even used their armor to supplement the Stormtrooper Corps of the Imperial Army. Very, very interesting things to think about, but let me know what you guys think as well. Which more are you inclined to believe? Is it the out-of-universe or in-universe explanation? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe for dailies. Now you can have an awesome day, Star Wars fans. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you. Until then.